Hi, this is Ryan with Front End Audio, and thank you for checking out our featured software series.
Alright, so now we're going to take a quick look at the Softube's TSAR-1 True Stereo Algorithmic Reverb plugin on snare drum. Now what I've done here is I've actually inserted it on the snare track. So I'm using it as a mono reverb even though it's a stereo reverb. I'll also show it in a second accented so you hear it in the stereo format. But first I have my snare gated and soloed up, and we're going to take a listen to that, try and gate it to control some of the bleed there, but didn't want to do a hard gate. So here's the snare by itself with no reverb, and then I'll set it in. So it adds a little bit of presence there. I have it, kind of bright because I want a little bit of an airy pop to it. High diffusion and density because I want a smooth reverb, but I want it to be tight. Little over half a second of decay. I don't want a whole lot of decay there, and just a little bit of pre-delay to kind of give some space to the drum. Just so that you can hear it, this is the 15-second decay time. So you can hear that it's pretty cool that you can do things like that, but as it decays, even with that long decay, it's still nice and natural and smooth. There's no kind of aliasing or kind of weirdness going on, no phasing issues, so it's really cool in that regard. But, I'm going to make some adjustments to something more realistic for a mix. Gives the snare a good presence. So let's hear it in the total mix. First without the reverb, then I'll adjust it off and on so that you can hear the difference. I have boosted the snare in the mix, and I've removed the lead guitar so you can hear it better. So you can hear how just that slight little bit of reverb, even though it's stereo, using it mono, adjusting my mix between wet and dry, and then adding a little bit of tweaks to it will just really kind of open up the snare and give it a little bit better dimension, a little bit better presence within the mix. Now also, as I said, you can use it on an aux end. So here it is on the snare aux, so that you can hear it how it opens up in the stereo field. I'm going to actually copy over the settings just so it's the same as you just heard. And here we go. So you really hear how the early reflections panned out and the decay kind of like starts outside, and still there's nice presence on the inside. So let's hear it in the mix, see if that gives you something. It depends on the song. You might want it depending on how much room you have in the mix. But here is without the reverb first, and then I'll engage it again. Now, if we do completely wet on the aux end, that will sound like this. So like I said, it depends on the mix, depends on the style of music you're working on, whether you would want to use this on solely just a snare drum. More times than not, I'd probably just insert it right on the snare track and use it as a mono reverb. So that's just one way to use this on snare drum, and I hope it's given you a good example of how you can use it in your studio.
Again, thank you for joining us for our featured software series videos. For more information and for all your pro audio needs, check us out on the web at www.frontendaudio.com. Thank you.